Patch 5.0 for Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2 has broken the game. Or has it? Well, today we're going to discuss this and plenty of other things that the Warhammer gaming community have noticed within this recent update. We're actually going to start with the new operation, Obelisk. If you go into operations, you'll see that it says classified, and all of the information about this operation just simply has question marks next to it. Now, there are some people that are saying that it's inaccessible without completing the entire story. That's not true. If you haven't completed the story, then this appears because this operation runs directly parallel to the events of the end of the main campaign. So this warning is there in case you've not finished that. Of course, simply advancing through will open up the operation and all of the information will then appear and you'll be able to play it. If you have completed the main campaign, you will hear and see crossover points from that last main campaign mission within this operation. The next thing to talk about is the mod detected watermark that can appear in the top right corner. It's believed that this activates as part of your game save. However, I deleted my save, of course backing it up first, and then I started an entirely fresh save and it still appeared. Some people are saying that it's appearing even if you've never used mods because you've connected to an online service or you've played with somebody who's modded the game. But I don't think that that's the case. It can't be the save that it's affected. It's something ingrained within the game's files. And again, we know this because players who have claimed they've never used mods are seeing this message appear. And you can see some examples of people talking about this from posts on Reddit on your screen now. But how is this affecting people? Well, they're not able to save progress, which means that you could complete a mission and then really your level up rewards become a little bit meaningless because you can't save your progress. You might unlock things, but then the next time you do go and connect to an online service or wish to play online, all of your unlocks or your progress just reverts back to where it was. I've seen it several times within the Space Marine community, people saying to verify your game files on Steam. Doing this a few times may take the mod detected watermark off screen. However, there have been instances where this has come back, and even though it's really small and it's right in the top corner, it is annoying a few players. What it also seems to be doing is kicking people out of their current operation, even though they're playing offline. It's really affecting people who just want to play the game, because not only are they getting kicked out of a mission where they've not modded at all, they can't even save the progress. I think the developers, Saber Interactive, and the publishers, Focus Entertainment, have been quite upfront when they've produced any patches or updates, or if they've noticed that there's a problem with something, especially one that's been found by the community. They're pretty much on it straight away to acknowledge those problems and the issues that may arise, and they also try to put out fixes, so I do expect this to be looked at. While we're on the subject of fixes, it has been noticed by members of the community that there are certain key bindings that were not being as responsive as they once were. And also the parry system, while it was changed in patch 5.0, seems to be broken for some close combat weapons. There was a server announcement on the Space Marine 2 official Discord that reads the following. We're aware of an issue causing inputs getting randomly disabled on PC. Our teams are working on a fix. And then one day later, the aforementioned issue with inputs being randomly disabled is fixed. You might need to restart Steam and or your PC to see the change. On another note, we're aware of the control rebind issues and bugs with the parry. We're working on it. Once again, sorry for the inconvenience. So again here, they have acknowledged that there is a problem and it is being looked at. Because what I've noticed is that no matter what, the difficulty of playing on seems to have become a little bit harder. Now, okay, yes, seasoned pros of the game probably won't notice this, but the casual player may do. And it doesn't matter what difficulty you're on. But it also feels, from my personal experience with patch 5 of the game, the close combat, while it isn't completely useless, it feels pretty close to being so, especially if you're using certain weapons. The parry system seemed to work in the previous update. Now it feels more difficult to actually execute. And if that's a way of trying to make the game harder, in my opinion, it's probably the wrong way of going about it. One more thing to discuss is the future of Space Marine 2. As we know, there is a roadmap that takes us into early 2025. However, as of patch 5.0, some upcoming data has been mined out of the game files, as posted by Space Marine Alerts on X. Now these show various DLCs, some we already know about and some that have already been implemented into the game. Some of them though aren't actually featured on the roadmap, and these could be coming to the game in a future update. For example, this one here, DLC Season 3, it's named the Raven Guard Cosmetics Pack. Season 4, the Salamanders Champions Pack, and Season 5, the Space Wolf Cosmetic Parts. Now while these DLC packs do have what they feature listed underneath, if we take a look at this image, it shows a few more upcoming DLC packs. These could also be added as red herrings, so to speak, as game developers know games get data mined, but we'll take a look at these anyway. It says Season 6, the Chaos Pack, Season 7, Imperial Fist, Season 8, White Scars, and Season 9, Blood Angels. Of course, with these particular DLC packs, it doesn't state what's included in them, but if you're really into your Warhammer, you've probably got a good idea already. And going off the previous DLCs, it's probably going to be more of the same. But what it does go to show is that the game is going to be supported well into 2025 and possibly beyond. I can understand the release of this upcoming content. The Warhammer lore is massive and there are many different factions involved with it. A lot of them aren't mentioned within this game's main storyline, but they are mentioned in the overall lore, so it is good to include them in some way. Final thoughts then. Patch 5, while it looks good on paper, when you read about the update it seems like a really exciting one. A new mission, a new enemy, but to me it just feels like a little bit of a backward step when you actually get into the game and start playing. Don't get me wrong, in the game's lifespan we've seen things changed and then reverted, so that's not to say that it couldn't happen again. I do believe that since the game's launch, some of the improvements have been really good improvements. The honesty on what's coming up in future updates, but also the way they've gone about it, by seeing what the community thinks and actually listening to them. And I feel that that's been good for this game's development. However, on the flip side of that, there has been things that haven't quite worked out. But as you can see, the developers aren't afraid to try things, and I don't mind that. If it works, great. If it doesn't, okay, let's not keep changing it and then end up making it even worse. Let's revert it and try something else. And I think that the game's difficulty is one of the overarching main focuses. As mentioned earlier, an earlier patch saw more enemies in a swarm go against you, and extremist enemies spawning more often to make battles harder. But then there was too many enemies, so they toned that down a little bit. But they don't want to increase enemy health overall, so then to make battles harder you have to take something off. And this would then be the player attack inputs, but then we also need to balance the weapons out. There's a fine line there. But then there's also a fine line between experimentation after a game's released and keeping the overall player base happy. What are your thoughts then? Is patch 5 an improvement on Space Marine 2, or do you think it's a little bit of a downgrade, or are you still maybe on the fence? So let's open up the discussion in the comments, and if you didn't know, then there's plenty of other Space Marine 2 videos on the channel, so feel free to go and check those out if you haven't already.